Progress Show 2022 in Boone, Iowa. My name's Cattoor. I'm an agronomist for Concept AgriTek, and I'm here with a couple of gentlemen that you might have seen before. We've got Chad Henderson and Garrett from XtremeAg, and we wanted to take a few minutes to pick their brains and see what they've seen this season in the field and what they're looking for heading into harvest right now. So I guess maybe I'll start with Chad. Chad, what's been some of the biggest challenges this spring or this summer for you in Alabama?
Heat and not enough water.
Okay.
It's been a rough one. We've been in a dry spell down there and had a whole lot of heat. I've learned a lot. I hope I've learned a lot. We'll see when the combines hit, but we've tried a good many products too. Talk about stress mitigation, trying to work on our heat, and it's just so much they can do. Guys, they'll talk about stress mitigators, but it's just so much they can do when you get into that excess heat, especially nighttime temps.
You bet. So Kelly, let me ask you a question that a lot of farmers might want to ask is as a farmer, can I mitigate stress and actually be successful at it?
Yes, we focused on that a lot this year, and what a great year to focus on it.
Yeah.
With all the heat we've had, lack of water all across the country. Chad and I and the other members of XtremeAg have identified products and are using them to mitigate stress. A proper nutritional program, Fertility Program, is your first step in mitigating stress. But there's other things that we do now to try to even push that further.
Yeah, so at Concept AgriTek, we're a big technology company. We're trying to bring new, innovative ideas to some of the older chemistries that are out there, like our stress tech technology, our biotech technology. You mentioned a good, healthy plant that can overcome these stresses more easily. Well, how about no different than the human body? I relate a lot of things that we do to physiology of the human, or cattle or livestock for that matter. So, increasing levels of potassium, boron, those things can really help us get through those events.
Yep. And when we're talking about that, let's don't think that you're gonna come in here later in the game after corn's up and growing, it's looking good, and then let's just start with that. This is a plan. Kelly talks about a lot of systematic approach. Don't forget to get you a system, get you a game plan back when you start with a planter running, and then start this stuff in and knowing what's coming, where you're knowing where your levels, if you will, are gonna fall, and you're ahead of the game. You can't catch up on the stress. So we've got to be getting in front of it for sure.
And it isn't always about building and more. It's about balance. That's what we have learned. We need to balance the fertility, balance the approach.
That's something at Concept AgriTek. We hang our hat on the ABCs of agriculture, as we call it. Agronomy, biology, and chemistry. We always want to start with the agronomic side of it. Here at the show, I get countless guys coming by saying, what one product should I use or should I try from you guys? And I look them straight in the face and say, I really don't know without learning more about your farm. And I think that's a mistake a lot of growers are making.
We get that question a lot, and it's a difficult one to answer because, again, it's a systems approach.
But it's what we've done in the last years. A way a farmer is programmed is the way we're programmed, and we just need that. We're already doing things, and a lot of times we just need to add one thing in. Mm-hmm. But to understand, like you said, a systematic approach is starting, with y'all's potash early in the game, maybe trickling some in with a planter, and then going into the cowboy. It's things like that.
Starting with K13 in a 2x2 application, and then maybe coming back with the potassium acetate and the foliar K a little later on in the season. So, and that's something that I personally believe in as an agronomist. Different forms of nutrients at different times of the year are really important.
Very important.
Whether that's nitrogen and ammonium. We know the corn plant prefers ammonium late in the season.
Yep.
Simple things like that. So, but I guess let's shift gears just a minute and let's talk about something that I know Kelly is really involved in. It's usually carbon credits, but I want to talk about carbon in the soil a little more. Photosynthesis drives everything, and we are frankly doing a very poor job of capturing that photosynthesis.
That's right.
The average corn plant, peak photosynthesis is only about 45 days. And we're getting peak photosynthesis. So, I want to hit on something like a Carbon RX that we're trying to integrate into our in-furrow and side dress applications. Carbon RX is a very high CEC, which means we're banning nutrients. We can hopefully keep those from attaching to the clay colloids, keep them more available to the plant. But are there other ways that guys can get more carbon into their soil?
My belief is that carbon is the most important element that we have. I don't always want to call it a nutrient, but it's the most important element that we have. It's not talked about enough. Everybody's worried about NP and K. Now we're more worried about sulfur, but carbon is the #1 priority. And the holy grail of farming is let's plant corn. The holy grail of planting corn is let's put more nitrogen out there. And one of the most important ratios we have is nitrogen to carbon. And on my farm, on the Iowa soils, we release more nitrogen throughout the year. I don't think people understand that. I know that I don't fully grasp it yet, but I will tell you, when I put carbon through my drip irrigation, 16 inches deep, I get a response. And that's because we're bringing that nitrogen to carbon ratio more into balance. I'm so far from solving it, it's disappointing to me, but we're bringing it into balance. And I am not putting fertility through my drip anymore. I'm putting carbon through it. We're constantly getting a response because down deep, 16 inches deep, we're stimulating that nitrogen cycle, we're stimulating that fertility.
That porosity.
And it's because of the carbon. Most important thing we have.
And it's all about, too, it's about a plant availability. If everybody, if everybody could buy a 400 bushel blend from the co-op, we'd all be buying it. We would do it. But it's not about that, it's about what's available, and with a carbon source like that, it's always helpful with availability, of what we have already in the soil.
Well, and you guys are truly passionate about what you're doing, obviously, and a lot of growers out here are not asking the right questions. That's what I see as an agronomist.
We just fail a whole lot. And so I'm just telling you that when we fail a whole lot, there's one time, like there's 10% of stuff that we learn. 90% of stuff, it's like, man, I don't know where that come from. But when we pick up on it, we want to share, and that's what we're all about. Just let's share, and because everybody that comes through, there's always really good questions and good things we learn from it.
That's right.
And I know it's kind of a commonly used slogan, but you're only as good as the people that are around you.
That's right.
We don't have all the answers. You guys probably don't claim to either. So
that's why Kelly. That's why Kelly can't figure out the carbon deals. He hangs around with me.
Absolutely. Well,
farming is like golf, and we're trying to hit holes in one, and I'm still a double bogey golfer.
Okay. Well, that's a reality check, I think, for a lot of growers out there, because what I see when I face out in the field as an agronomist is I hear guys talking about you, seeing what you're doing, and they want to do it, and that's great for the industry. But guess what? You just made my job 10 times harder because they think it's easy to raise 300 bushel corn. Well, and I'll be the first one to agree with you. Yield is in the details.
Yep.
And it starts from the very beginning all the way to the end.
Yep.
The #1 yield limiting factor on my farm is me. And you got to be humble enough to admit that.
That's interesting.
I agree 110%.
You bet. Well, I want to thank Kelly and Chad for coming by our booth today here at the Farm Progress Show. And if you'd like more information about some of the Concept AgriTek products, you can check us out at conceptagritech.com.